If there's one thing I always look forward to in a Fire Emblem game, is to see what new characters I'll get attached to, or in some cases, fucking hate. So, I'm not gonna drag this any longer. I just finished Engage, so I'm gonna do a tier list of all the playable characters. I'm taking into account their designs, their personality, and their performance as a unit. All based on my own personal experiences, my own tastes, and of course, my very first playthrough. Since there's over 30 characters to talk about, I'll try to go through them as fast as possible, and most importantly, this list will contain spoilers. I think that's a given, but it's better if I just tell you right away. So, let's begin!
Bander. Someone correct me if I am wrong, but don't you think Bander is like the worst Jagen in the series? Jagens are supposed to start strong and then fall off halfway through the game, but Bander fell off almost immediately. He couldn't do a single thing, and when I got Louis, that was the end of him. I didn't explore his character, he's just there in the story, so yeah, sorry, he goes to D tier. Plan. A solid mage that stayed with me for a good chunk of chapters. Unfortunately, he was replaced by other units later in the game, and I really don't care about his personality. All the supports I read from him were boring, but I won't deny he was a huge help when it mattered the most, so C tier. Ram. The first character to utterly make me suffer because of how cringe she could be. I will definitely give her another chance in the future, but the image of Fran that I have at the time of this video is near useless unit, unbearable personality. D tier. Alfred. For a character I'm supposed to care for, Alfred just didn't give me a single reason to do so. His design is pretty generic in my opinion. His role in the story is just there, the only supports I ever got from him were all about muscles, although some of them were pretty funny, I'll admit. And his performance as a unit was bad. He never contributed anything useful. I was always trying to level him up, give him stat boosters and promote him to his unique class, but he never worked. Maybe I did something wrong, but Alfred never lived to the potential he was supposed to have. I didn't want to do this, but for now, he gets a D tier. John and Etienne. Very similar feelings for these two. I liked their designs, their supports were either very funny or cute, and early in the game they were pretty useful units. Nothing spectacular, but they pulled through when it mattered the most. Unfortunately, when more characters showed up, these two were doomed. I couldn't promote Boucheron to a hero, so I stopped using him. Etienne is funny because she stayed in my army for a bit longer and always gained strength in every level up. But that's it! Only strength, no speed, no skill, and she was beyond frail. So to the bench she went. Someday, I'm sure I'll give them another chance, but at least they did way better than Alfred, so C tier. Sailing. God, what a boring character. I don't know if they were trying to replicate legacies from genealogy, but they failed. Sailing has a cool concept of being a magical and physical unit, and I like that. Those have worked in the past. But Sailing excels at nothing. In fact, I think she's terrible at both roles. She never contributed anything useful, not even early in the game. I really dislike her design, like, there's way too much going on here. And personality-wise, she's just incredibly boring. Take a shot every time she talks about tea. Yep, there we go. Sailing goes to D tier. Louis. First, we share names, that's how you know he's based. Second, Louis is one of the most busted units I've seen in Fire Emblem, right up there with Har, Radiant Dawn, Hector in Blazing Blade, and Morgan in Awakening. As soon as I saw Louis, I gave him the Sigurd Ring, and he became an early game Great Knight. Even without the Sigurd Ring, he was still an immovable monster. With an upgraded Killer Lance, he will obliterate everything in his path. And while his resistance was pitiful, he could still take a few hits thanks to his HP stat. He was a must in every single map. If I ever ran into trouble, he will always grant us victory. It's no wonder he was one of my most prominent MVPs and had the highest kill count in my run. His supports weirded me out at first, but he eventually started to have some genuinely charming ones. And his design is so simple yet so pleasing to look at. Louis gets the first S tier of the list. Chloe. Just as her fellow retainer Louis, I like Chloe just as much. I mean, she's not a juggernaut like Louis, but she was a fantastic unit that could get kills and offer incredible support, well paired with the Lucina ring too. It was very rare for me to not bring her to the battlefield. Her design is one of my favorites in the game, and while her character is nothing special, she's very charismatic and funny, so I put her on A tier. John, the Donnell of the game, and true to that, he always got fantastic growths and was looking to be an incredible unit. That's what I thought until other units showed up and did a much better job than John. It's unfortunate because I didn't dislike him at all. I found his supports to be quite endearing. A kid who wants to become a doctor who can fight? Sure, go for it, kid! And again, he wasn't bad by any means, but others did his job way better. So I decided to put him on B tier. Diamant. His personality is nothing to write home about. He's a typical crown prince dedicated to his country, which isn't bad by any means, but it's also nothing I haven't seen before. And Diamant doesn't do anything to make me say, wow. However, his performance as a unit was fantastic! He was like a mercenary in the older games. He could double, he could kill, pull critical hits, and even tank a decent amount. Something he could do even better thanks to his soul skill, even better with the Erika ring. He was a unit I almost benched, but all of a sudden he caught up with everyone else and became an elite force in my army. So, A tier. Ember. He made me laugh once. That's literally it. But his performance as a unit was embarrassing. I do not care about him. D tier. Jade! I love her serious character, I adore her design, and as a unit she was good. But unfortunately got bad luck with me. That's the thing. At first Jade was very strong and useful, but slowly started to fall off to the point where it felt I had to defend her, an armor knight, instead of her doing the defending. It's a shame, I really wanted to take her to the endgame, but she fell just a bit too short to make that happen. I'm sure that in the future this placement will change, but for now, she goes to B tier. Alchrist, a miracle incarnate. Alchrist was a character that I didn't train at first because, first, he made me cringe with his Ichiban level 3 apology. Second, I already had Etienne. When Etienne failed to be competent, I decided to give Alchrist a shot just for shits and giggles. And every battle he will do something that genuinely impressed me. That's why I decided to continue to use him, and eventually, he became an important part of my team. He wasn't an elite force by any means, but he could do his role like nobody else and offer some important support. His personality might be the typical, "my life sucks" funny, but I think he had some very genuine and heartfelt supports, and his battle quote against corrupted King Morion is perhaps one of the most emotional deliveries in the entire game. So just like his brother, Alchrist goes to A tier. Lapis! Is it just me, or does she kinda look like Sakura from Fates a bit too much? I mean, it's whatever, it's a cute design, I like it. And unfortunately, that's the best thing I can say. Her personality was just there. And as a unit, she wasn't bad, but she was also not needed because by this point, Alir is a competent sword fighter and you get Diamant not too long after. Not to mention, Kagetsu is also there. She's a unit I want to give a shot in a future playthrough, but I'm honestly not expecting much. So, C tier. Citrin. Her name kinda rhymes with C tier now that I think of it. But don't worry, I'm not putting her there. Her design is superb, it's so damn good. I'm a big fan of her Mr. Beast personality, and she could even have some serious and interesting supports from time to time. As a unit, she completely outclassed Clan when she showed up and remained solid for a good time. That is, until enemies got stronger and instead of being a glass cannon, she became a false white glass cannon, always leaving enemies with 1 HP. She could hit hard, but she couldn't double and she couldn't take much punishment, so unfortunately, I stopped using her. I will definitely give her another chance in the future, but right now, she's B tier for me. Yunaka. Ooh, I think this is the one that will make Engage fans hate me. Yunaka's design is one I consider bad. It's way too much and it feels so out of place. When I met her for the first time, she made me cringe, and not exactly in a good way. However, I kinda started to appreciate her a bit when I unlocked more of her supports. Clearly, there's more about Junaka I still don't know about. As a unit she was doing okay, but when Selkov and Marin joined the fray, Junaka couldn't find a single niche on my playthrough. Even though I now find her Haya Papaya funny, Junaka right now is on thin ice. I'll definitely give her another chance in the future, but for now, she's C tier. Saphir, a character that gave me a bad first impression. Saphir is recruited in a chapter where you need to get to her as soon as possible, otherwise she will die in 2 turns. That told me she was a bad unit, but just because I like her design and she had some genuinely good supports, I decided to train her, and in no time she became an elite force in my army. She could hit hard, she could double and even take a beating when needed. She was indispensable to defeat Sombron in the final chapter. Saphir was a pleasant surprise in every aspect, and come on! Having an old woman in your army is honestly pretty rare in Fire Emblem. Old men are common, but old women is not something you see every day. The other one that comes to mind is Nime from Binding Blade, who is awesome! And Saphir did not disappoint at all, so I think she's an A tier. Chimera. Excellent design, a princess who hunts bandits by herself, a bubbly personality that rubs into you, and with the Ike ring, she was a fantastic unit! Alongside Louis, she was one of the most common MVPs of my army. She almost rivaled Louis in terms of tanking power, but even then, she could also tank magic, double the enemy, hit hard, and her unique ability Sandstorm might as well be a critical hit due to how strong it was. Chimera is a character that I can't imagine anyone hating her. She was so good in every aspect that she gets an S tier. Mary. Cool design! The Wolf Knight is a fantastic new addition to the series that I love, and she was a pretty good unit that could do her job. I didn't do many of her supports, sadly, but at the very least I enjoyed the ones I got, like the one with Chimera is pretty cute. Unfortunately, Marin couldn't make it into the endgame. But I like her, and I hope to see more of her in a future playthrough, so for now, she's a B tier. Panette. She's weird because I like her design, but I don't think it fits at all, not in Solm, not even in Fire Emblem. I do like how she has a refined personality, but lets out a wilder manner of speech during battle. Unfortunately, I barely used her at all. She wasn't terrible, but it was always a pain having to protect her from every single thing, so C tier. Fogado. Died Cloud Von Regan. I feel they were trying to make a more simplified version of Cloud with this character, which isn't bad by any means, you know? Fogado is very likable and charismatic, just as Cloud. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same for his performance as a unit. He wasn't terrible, on the contrary, for the first few chapters after his recruitment he was very competent. But his stats became so balanced to the point where he excelled at nothing, and I just bench him. B tier is where he goes. Bune. I don't know a single person who gives a shit about Bune, and that includes myself. He just doesn't excel at anything. He was a mediocre unit, his supports were alright, and his design... I know all the Solm retainers beg the same question, but why is he, a person who lives in the desert, the whitest guy ever made? And not even that, it's just a very generic and uninspiring design. D tier. Pandreo.
Damn! That shit good!
God, I love Pandreo! I love his laid-back and friendly personality, how he constantly parties, and even though he seems so carefree, he's still a very devoted man and a genuinely caring and responsible person. I find it so funny how his constant howling makes the fanbase call him a furry, and while his design is nothing too crazy, it's one I really like. But the thing that shook me the most is that Pandreo outright outclassed 2 of my units in every aspect, John and Citrin. He could heal better, hit better, actually double, and even tank magic hits. Pandreo is a character that I like a lot at first because his first interaction is so funny.
Oh, it's the Divine Dragon! The Divine Dragon!
And he only got better as the game progressed, so S tier. Sidon. As the first canonical male dancer in the series, not counting the 3 houses ones, Sidon made a very good and fun first impression. As a dancer, he's never not a good unit. He couldn't hit for shit though, but at the very least he was very good at avoiding attacks. I like how he seems so chill and mysterious at first glance, but loses his mind when it comes to his favorite foods. And hey, I can relate to that frustration. His supports range from entertaining, to serious, to funny, and I enjoyed that. His only sin was finding the coring ring, but hey, it's whatever, he didn't know any better. A tier. Ivy. Someone in the development team must have said, okay, what if we make Camilla, but epic? And Ivy is the result of that. Ivy is very calm and reserved, she's very serious, and I think she might be depressed if I am honest. But I also love that at times she can come out as kind of a dork and shows a kinder side from time to time. In my playthrough, she was a part of my top 3 units right next to Louis and Timera, being a must in every single map. She was a unit that started incredible and only became better the more she leveled up. Whenever I struggle with any boss, she will just show up and one-shot them when needed. And just like her other 2 fellow elite members, she will always steal the MVP spots from everyone else. Unsurprisingly, she's the one I married. Even less surprising is the fact that I put her on S tier. Selco. He's a unique case of being a unit I didn't take to my final team, but I still like so much. The reason is because most of the mid-game, Selco was a key unit that always made the difference. He will dodge at the most critical moments, he will critical when I needed someone dead. His design is not something I will call good, but I like how despite his serious and menacing appearance, he is kind of a softie and caring in his own way. Because of that, I give him the A tier. Kagetsu. A character I really wanted to use and know better. I love his design, the little supports I got from him were good, and as a unit he was fine, but he wasn't great. At this point my Diamant and Alir were already climbing the ranks to become incredible, and when I got Gold Mare in my army I just said, I don't want to play with you anymore. Another unfortunate case of a character I wanted to like more, but just couldn't make the cut. Better luck next time, Kagetsu, so right now you go on B tier. Horchata. I know her name is Hortensia, but Horchata sounds funnier. She's a character I genuinely cannot stand. I hate the bratty, tell me I'm cute personality. Her design is a fucking disaster, it makes my eyes puke, and I really cannot tolerate her voice. Nothing against the voice actress, but it's like they told her to sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks. And holy shit, she probably did the job a bit too well. It's a shame because outside of the character, her unique skills are so cool and I cannot deny the support she gives in battle can be game changing. But she has so many negatives that I don't mind passing on those positives. D tier. Rosado. I've said this before, I respect characters who are themselves regardless of what other people say, and Rosado is no exception. It's hard not to like his cheerful, carefree and optimistic personality. He's a bundle of charisma who enjoys cute stuff and life. As a unit, Rosado wasn't terrible, but he also wasn't great if I am honest. He will contribute when needed, but he wasn't the menacing presence Wyvern Riders tend to be. I mostly only use him because I love his supports, they were just that good. Even if he wasn't an excellent unit, Rosado was so likable that he gets an A tier. Gold Mary. She's vain, she's self-centered, sees herself above others, and she is so passive-aggressive. And I can't help but love her. You know, there is something so entertaining and appealing about characters who act like they're hot shit, but they're actually hot shit. Her dialogue is just so cool and amusing, her design is incredible, and as a unit she was very strong, not a bit too balanced, but she could always do a great job. There's really nothing much I can add other than she is the embodiment of gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, and she gets an S tier. Anita la Huerfanita. She was a terrible unit that couldn't do jack shit and never contributed anything to my army. Her voice is ridiculously annoying in this game and... yep, that's it. Maybe if I had gotten more support she would have been higher, but unfortunately I didn't, so for now, she's a D tier. Linden. I honestly thought he was an NPC the first time I saw him. There's nothing I can say. Unlike Sapphire, he never brought anything unique to set himself apart. I will say though, his supports were outright insane. Linden is very unhinged but in a very amusing way. And I find it so funny that with a certain build he can get a 100% critical hit rate. Lindon barely avoids the D tier and lands on C tier. Movier. When the 4 hounds showed up, I remember thinking, he's gonna be my favorite, and since I never miss, I was right. He was my favorite of the 4 hounds. Throughout the story, I thought he was gonna be the Camus of the game. A cool character who was gonna die for a stupid cause. But he didn't, and instead joined my army, which made me incredibly happy. As a unit, he wasn't great at first, but quickly cut his way to become really strong, offering great offense, defense, and support. His design is very simple and down to earth, I like it, and I'm a big fan of his honest and chivalrous personality. Movier is a character I really wanted to recruit, and once I did, I was not disappointed at all. A tier. Vale. I thought she was fine in the story, the little sister dynamic with Alir is good, but I don't have high praises nor strong hatred towards Vale. As a unit she was competent, but I mostly just use her to get her late game supports, which again, are fine. So yeah, I enjoy the character, I don't have anything special to say. B tier.
Well, that's all for today. Wait, am I not forgetting someone? Someone very important to the plot? Oh yeah! Zombie!
I love this little fuck, I named mine Chopper, he wears sunglasses and he looks funny. S tier.
Okay, no, I purposely saved this character for last.
Alir. I don't know how they did it. I fucking despise this character at first because I don't like this design. Even if I finally got used to it, and even if it's justified in lore, I don't think it's a good design. And because at first I was expecting them to be Corrin 2.0, the worst main character ever made. But that wasn't the case at all. Alir was only getting better both as a unit and as a character. What I like so much about Alir is just how humble and down to earth they are. Even if they are aware that they are worshipped as deities, they don't like that special treatment and only want to be perceived as a normal person and be on equal ground despite title or race. Which is funny because Alir is like the most normal person in the entire game. In the story, they're very courageous and have a strong sense of justice. And even though they do what they think is right, they're still willing to take risky choices for the greater good. One of my favorite moments in the entire game is when Horchata has the Queen of Solm as a hostage and she's like, give me the rings or else I'll kill her. And Alir just responds with, okay, do it. Do it, you fucking pussy. God, and they just proceeded to have more cool moments like that. It's crazy, I was expecting the absolute worst from this character, but they just continued to prove me wrong again and again and again, to the point where I can say they're characters I honestly loved, which is why Alir gets the S tier, and with that, the Fire Emblem Engage tier list is complete.
Remember, this entire list was all based in one playthrough, so things can potentially change in the future. Don't take what I say as straight up facts, even if they are. I'm kidding. So, what's your personal tier list? Which characters are your favorites and which ones do you despise the most? Let me know in the comments, and as usual, thank you so much for your time. I really hope you were engaged in this video, and well, if you could support the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, Patreon, that will mean so much to me. Have a wonderful day and take care. I'll see you next time.